Guess who's back?
We're back.
Back like we never left.
Did we leave?
That is the question. There is a full repository of Justice episodes for you to go and listen to.
But we didn't leave because we had a really busy holiday season, as I'm imagining all of you did as well. And we had some fun.
We did. So what were some of the highs and lows of being separated from me, Margo?
Well, I didn't have to separate too long because I did get to see you in New York. So I imagine that your high was something that we did in New York.
Gabby!
We saw Gabby Bernstein in person, in real life, IRL, as Gabby would say. And Tashira did try to get in line for her seance.
It was not a seance, and I would have actually been successful if that damn woman behind me hadn't been talking. And I was like, bitch, shut up. I'm trying to get on stage with Gabby. But that energy is probably why I didn't make it, because that was
Tashira, she already knew who she was going to pick. She picked people that she had already met before.
No, that's not true. No. Gabby wants a relationship with me.
Gabby Bernstein, you have a fan in Tashira Halyard. Okay,
Always.
we're going to move past Gabby.
Okay.
So what were some of the highs and lows other than our trip to New York, which was so fun and amazing for you?
Yeah, so my holiday season wasn't the best. I lost a loved one. We actually had her services on New Year's Eve. And so it was a very somber time to bring in the new year. So may she rest well to my cousin, and sending so much love to my entire family.
I am too.
Thank you, Em. And so we usually also take a family vacation to honor another cousin who passed away very young, tragically. He was only 21 years old. And we were going to cancel it. We call it our annual Zaycation.
Because his name was
Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Zaycation was going to be canceled. And I told my aunt, I was like, no, I think we need this, right? We need a chance to just let our hair down and to love on each other and to have a good time during such a difficult time. Joy and Grief was one of our episodes, right? And so we did it. And so I was on a fucking 4-day bender in Miami.
So for all of you who followed Tashira,
Girl, when I tell you, one point I got butt naked in the shower, and
as one does.
Yeah, well, I was hands and knees on the floor, literally crying out, saying, God, what bad decision have I made in my life that would bring me to this point at 40? I was so fucked up, but it was a great time.
That sounds horrible.
It's just a reminder that I'm at a big age. You know, you shouldn't mix beer, wine, brown liquor, lot of weed. Like, you shouldn't mix all of these things in a very short period of time. So
no. It does feel, though, and I know I'm not the first person to say this, that hangovers hit differently.
Period. I'm still hungover. As I talk to you now, I may also be a little drunk. What about you?
You know, my holiday season was shockingly beautiful because my dad was released from the hospital on December 19th and moved in with us. He and my mom moved in with us for a while. And so we had a very quiet holiday, but it was amazing. We were all together. And for the people listening who know Josh, he also allowed a Christmas tree in our home for the first time. By the way, everyone, we're full on Jewish, but in the holiday spirit, that the way my parents celebrate, we do have a Christmas tree. And so we had a Christmas tree, which was really fun. And we had a lot of special time together as my dad recovered. And I have a feeling that 2023 is going to be a good year for both of us.
Yeah, it's a good way to start it off.
Yeah. So sure. it was really, really sweet. And I'm really grateful. So what were some of the presents that you got?
Ooh, I got some good presents.
Or gave.
I think the best present that I received was from my nephew, who got me a pair of multicolored Vans. And it's so dope, not just because the shoes.
Wait, is it the rainbow? They're the rainbow ones?
Yeah, they're primary colors. So they're blue, yellow, and red. So the shoes are fire, but it's like the first like adult gift
He's ever given
he's
you?
ever given to me. And like even now it's like making me want to cry. I'm like, he's grown up. He bought me like these really dope shoes.
I can't imagine you wearing Vans.
I,
But it's also like I can't imagine you wearing fleece, not fleece, down vest.
yeah, that also was a holiday gift that was one of the best, honestly. Margo, I'm doing something different. I keep trying to tell you this, and I feel like you're not welcoming
I'm
the
welcoming it.
new me.
It's just strange when I pick you up from the airport and you're wearing a marmot vest.
Well, you told me it was a lesbian outfit, and I say, touche. It was on brand. So,
Yeah,
um,
I guess yeah, it was. I mean, you looked great and
thank
very
you.
comfortable.
That's listen, it is a brick city outside. As we record this today for folks who are listening, it is snowing. I'm from Florida. I'm black. I have African roots. My people are sun people. I need to be covered head to toe. You better have on a damn ski mask when you
So
pick me up
the
yesterday.
other thing that happened when I picked Tashira up from the airport yesterday is I happened to have a car that doesn't currently have heating in it. The seats work, so the seats are warm, but there's no heating. So poor Tashira had been waiting outside for me at the airport and then got into my car, which was exactly the same temperature as outside in the airport.
It was fine. I was happy to see you, friend. My Marmot vest kept me very warm. So those were two amazing holiday gifts. And then I think two of the ones that I gave that were the best. One is that I gave my grandparents one of those electronic picture frames.
Oh, we have one of those. They're amazing.
And I loaded it all with pictures of me because I'm their favorite grandchild, of course.
I'm sure
And
your cousins
so
really appreciated
it's
that.
great. It's just like an hour of pictures of me in my grandparents' house flipping. I'm just kidding. Everybody has pictures in it. And then another
She's not
one.
kidding, probably.
Another one is I found this necklace at Nordstrom of all places, and this is a gift that I gave. And it's a vibrator.
Wait, what?
Girl. So it is a vibrator that is probably about 3-4 inches long. It is skinny in width and it's metal. It's silver. And it also comes in copper and gold.
Wait, do you wear it around your neck?
And it's a necklace. Yeah, we'll link it.
Wait,
I'm so serious. I found this. So I was curating a gift. No.
wait, I don't understand. You can't wear a vibrator on
This
your
is,
neck.
yes, you can. I was curating a gift guide and I was putting together all my wellness gifts. This is what I was doing.
You're
I
like
am
the black Gwyneth Paltrow?
yeah, it's not goop, okay? What I'm saying is I'm all about pleasure. And so I'm like, let me put some pleasure items on this gift guide that I ended up putting it
Yeah.
on my website, etc. Put some pleasure, something related to sex. And then I find this on the Nordstrom website. It comes in the mail. When I tell you it looks like a regular necklace, but whole time it's a vibrator, dog. And you just have like a little port where you charge it. And it has different settings of vibration.
But it's tiny?
Yeah, look, it's the gift that kept on giving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
What about
My,
you?
m- my gifts are a little different. So I got really nice white towels for my mom.
Yeah.
You know I love white
Of
towels.
course.
I got hairpins.
I saw
Yeah, which I
it.
really enjoyed. Um, and the other two that were kind of this surprise that have led to a new passion of mine is my sister-in-law Sam got me this bracelet, actually wearing it right now, because she is a listener,
Okay.
actually, and she was listening to what our goals were for the coming year. I forget which episode we were talking about it. And I said I want to be more present.
Okay.
And this is a gemstone. I forget what it is, but it's a gemstone that helps you be
That's
more
so
present.
thoughtful.
I know. And she told me, and it's actually working, that maybe the gems don't actually work, but maybe they do.
Yeah.
But it's just wearing it. When you feel like you're struggling in whatever area, you look at your bracelet and you're like, oh, I just need to be more present.
Oh, that's so good.
So that was
Good
really,
job.
really a very special gift. But the other gift that I actually got myself and my kids, and then got myself again, is tickets to different shows. Because we stayed home all for 3 weeks because my parents were living with us, and the kids were out of school. So and we have a kind of small place, so I wanted opportunities to get out.
Yeah.
So Ella and I saw Cirque du Soleil. We went and saw Six the musical, which if you haven't seen it was
Oh,
amazing.
really?
I went to the Celtics. I am now an avid basketball fan.
No, you're not,
No, I
Margo.
am.
Stop
I got the
this.
NBA. Tashira, I
Girl.
got the NBA channel now.
Okay, friend. You went to one Celtics
I actually went
game.
to 2.
Okay, okay. Well,
Well, I
there,
didn't go to
have at
2
it.
over break. I went to 1 in November. Josh got free tickets with work. And I was
Okay.
like, wow, this is so meditative. I really like it.
Says no one about basketball. This is how I know you're not actually a
I was
fan.
so into it. No, it's like you have to focus on the bodies moving, and it's so quick, and they're so big and strong.
Okay, friend.
And they're all their tattoos, and
Yeah.
I was like, I should be down on the floor watching.
Floor seats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I know.
We're going to get a subscription someday from Just Us.
Okay, well, listen, I know what
You don't like
is,
basketball?
actually, it's my favorite sport. I love basketball, but similar to me in the vans, I have never heard you say a thing about
Because it's
athletics.
new. It's new.
Okay, girl.
It's new. And then I took Ella, and we had an amazing time. And so I have this new and I think it's also coming out of COVID,
Yeah.
all this stuff, but a new appreciation for live, real life entertainment.
No, this is real. No, that is real. I
There's
hear
so
you.
many people. I know this sounds all so stupid, but it was kind of a reawakening of a city that I've lived in for almost my entire life. Like I hadn't, also in the basketball games, all of the outfits, people have all their Celtic swag. I'm gonna get a jacket. I think that's what I've decided.
This is really about the fashion for you.
No, but a lot of people had matching Nikes.
Yeah. Yeah. And Celtics also have great colors. We can't say that for all
green and
basketball
black
games. I'm
and white.
agreeing. Yeah.
It's good. Did you know that people got sneakers to match the team that they support? It's a
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
I just didn't know that. So I'm really grateful for basketball.
Good. Good for you. I'm
You
sorry.
feel like I'm not
sorry.
a fan, right?
I'm sorry. No, you are
I almost got us
fan.
tickets,
Margo.
but they're not in town.
Let me tell you something. Go off, sis. I love this for you.
I just really, then I was thinking that I do believe that people who follow sports teams and are passionate about them are happier people.
Oh no, I felt that way for a long time.
And I just have never had that.
For
like,
sure.
People go and meet at bars and watch games, and I was always like, this is so boring. No one's talking. There's nothing interesting. But if you actually like the team.
Yeah, the camaraderie is unparalleled. Yeah.
So I'm going to.
Okay. Hey, basketball fan, 2023, you're going to be in a bar watching the Celtics play.
Yeah, I need to find like where are the Celtics bars at?
Yeah, well, it's Boston, probably all of them, friend.
Yeah, probably. Okay. So before we get to our next segment, what are you drinking?
I don't know, what the fuck is this?
That's perfect. What the fuck is this? This is not a cocktail.
It's not a beer.
It's not a hard seltzer.
It is empirical.
But it's actually Wine Press is back sponsoring this episode. Thank you to Jyoti and Aaron.
Thank you, Wine Press.
And this is called Empirical. Empirical began experimenting in 2017 in the hope of creating something totally unexpected, i.e. not a cocktail, not a seltzer, not a beer. And it is made from 2 Noma alumni. I don't really know what Noma is, but it's a very fancy restaurant somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And they made a series of products using flowers and natural products that are totally different and new to the market.
I love it.
And I just want to say that Wine Press does such an incredible job of curating, but also finding small batch producers of new and innovative products. And also, we are taping in January. Many of you might be doing dry January, but this is going to come out in February, so drink up.
This is what is really astonishing, talking about Wine Press's curation. This has carob, fig leaf, and lemon myrtle. Who would have thought?
And mine is also beautiful.
Oh, the colors are amazing.
Right. But that's not why right.
It's very aesthetically
Tashira
pleasing.
and I do love a nice aesthetic. So can number 2 is sour cherry, black currant buds, and young pine cones.
Okay, and we're going to pour it up in our Justice tumblers available on our website.
Yeah, so more there, but if you want these...
Oh, shit.
You're good.
Okay.
We're good.
We can't afford this equipment. Let's make sure it doesn't get wet. All right. All right. Listen, not a lick of alcohol shall go wasted here at Justice.
Look at this color.
The color is amazing.
I do feel like this, not a hard seltzer, not a beer,
Not a cocktail.
not a cocktail. Maybe we should put some fruit in it.
Okay. Wait, so I tasted it before and it was delicious. Let me get another little swig. It's so good. It's kind of sweet, but
it's kind of like
earthy.
It's kind of like an alcoholic
Kombucha?
Yeah, but without that anxiety production that I get when I drink kombucha.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we switch? I want to taste yours.
Yeah, of course. Careful of my top. It might not be.
Oh, Lord. Okay, hold on. Let me taste this.
Ooh, yours is really good.
Ooh, yeah. What am I catching in that? It's something kind of like...
Pine cones?
It's the pine cones. Many thanks to Wine Press for these delicious cocktails.
These are delicious. I am definitely going to buy some of these.
For sponsoring us.
Okay, great. We're at that time where we return to Dumb Shit Mense. And this season, we're going to do this a little differently, though there's still going to be a lot of dumb shit that we talk about.
Period.
And just a thank you to everyone who sent us some of that dumb shit over the last couple months. So this is a new twist.
It is.
It is a quote. It is a little bit of a longer quote than we're used to, but it's something I'm just going to put out there. So this is a quote from another podcaster or group of podcasters from the Cruise Season podcast. You know you've made it when you get into other people's podcasts, but the Cruise Season picked up on part of our podcast around joy and grief. And maybe not a typical sampling for their audience, but picked up on something that Tashira had talked about how her previous relationship ended over the last year and how she was beset by grief. This is their response. Can women have it all in terms of relationship, career, and things of that nature? I would say, yeah. You just got to learn how to separate the two. Obviously, that's a learning experience for her. You know what I'm saying? A dime a dozen, if she ever finds another good man. I guarantee she will learn how to separate the two. Y'all can hustle, but at the same time, when I come home, you've got to turn that shit off. This is another person now. You know what I'm saying? The work is done. Before you stepped into that house, the work is done. Matter of fact, the moment you left the business, in a sense, the work is done. You can have conversations about the work with your man, you know what I'm saying. You need to step into your feminine when you are with your man and all that type of shit and just be a lady. So, congrats, friend. You made it.
Cheers.
Cruise Season. She's a lesbian.
I lick cat.
That's not the most important part about this. There's so many issues with this statement. The heteronormativity, I mean, obviously, they didn't do any research. So the expectation that Tashira's relationship ended with a man because she wasn't stepping into her feminine and turning off her business mind is amazing and horrible. But I mean, this is really your opportunity to kind of dissect this.
So a couple things. One, the podcast and the video portion is very popular, I understand. So Cruise Season, I'm sure they have an audience and people who really enjoy the topics that they discuss and they break down. I do not believe that we are their audience, but some people are. So I'll just say that. To that point, not only is the heteronormativity absolutely hilarious, and actually I got that a lot on Instagram as well because I
remember.
Right? They're responding to a reel that went viral, not necessarily listening to our podcast because had they listened to it, they would have had more context. And so, what happened is that people see me, and because I do have femme privilege, I mean, that's a real thing in our community, right? I'm very straight passing. They then looked at me, heard the topic. I didn't use pronouns or obviously my ex's name. They assumed then, well, she must be talking about a man. Here's also the part of it that probably for me is the most disturbing. They took so much from a 60-second clip.
Don't believe everything you hear on the internet, people.
Period. I mean, they read into it all of these gendered norms, why the relationship broke down because I was working too hard. I wasn't stepping into my feminine. Another part of it, they were like, well, yeah, I know she's ferocious. You know, she's a ferocious businesswoman, but she wasn't really doing her part as a, what the fuck? No one said any of those things, Margot.
Right.
So then what is it mentally that I think people, men and possibly Black men, are struggling with as far as masculinity is concerned, that you take a 60-second clip so far out of context to remind women about their place and their need to be submissive? Find a fucking hobby. It's ridiculous.
Well, also, this idea of having to tamper one's fullness to take on a role to perform as a partner in a relationship.
Yeah, step into your feminine.
Step in. So just leave all that stuff in the car and I'm just gonna step into my feminine, and I come home and I'm cooking and cleaning and having sex all the time. Like,
but don't you also have a problem with the fact that, like, being a boss and on some G shit is masculine?
well, there's a lot there.
Exactly, right? Like, why?
And how is it demasculating? So it's both so this idea that being successful in one's professional life is masculine. So where did we
Yes.
get that?
100%.
And that a woman's success in a hetero relationship is demasculating
Mm-hmm.
for a man.
So what does it say about your masculinity if it's so fragile that it can be eviscerated because your partner is successful?
And I don't know.
Like, it's just a lot to unpack here. And what needs to be unpacked, I think, and this is not just about, these brothers, but in general, what needs to be unpacked here is not me.
No,
It is your response.
and it's what you represent,
Absolutely.
or their interpretation of what you represent.
Right.
Because they don't know you, and there was nothing in that clip that could lead any reasonable person to assign all of these assumptions. Your relationship could have ended because of 8 million reasons that had nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And with not talking about your relationship, right? That relationships end for tons of reasons that might have nothing to do with the person who's talking about it.
And I specifically did not say why my relationship ended, right? Intentionally, because that's very private.
And it's none of their business.
It's none of their So what I was talking about is feeling joy at a career that is excelling and the grief of a loss of a relationship.
And the grief associated with losing a relationship in big age. That is something that is very, very common, and we're attempting to normalize.
Yeah. And what they took from it was I was so successful until I forgot my man. I didn't step into my feminine.
I don't know why I'm thinking. I don't know. I'm a very visual learner, and I keep thinking about like people like changing in the car when they get home and like walking into the house and like, now I'm taking on my feminine. Like, you were in your feminine. You're in like what?
I'm always in my feminine. I'm probably also always in my masculine.
Also, what does it mean that there's this expectation of behavior placed on, in this case, you, and there was no ownership of their I mean, I get it. We're also taking a snippet, so we have to acknowledge that maybe there was more there. But in how they analyzed your quote,
Yeah.
there was nothing about mutuality or respect or how, like, a division of labor within the household works. There was nothing about that.
And so again, we're taking also a clip of what they said, and they did not speak to what any of those things would look like. But I would imagine that it's non-existent, because if the expectation is that I come home and I like tend to my man, then the man becomes another chore and responsibility. So therefore, how is he providing any support to the household? And let me just say this: historically, right, from enslavement and beyond, Black women have always worked outside of the home. And so these type of like gendered norms have never really rang true for us 100%. But there is something that is happening right now that's in the ethos. And I think we talked about this with the rise of like the religious right and fundamentalism, that it is taking fairly young Black men and putting them in a misogynistic fucking chokehold. And I don't think they know where it comes from. They are just spewing this rhetoric that they feel like is going to boost their ego and make them feel good about themselves. And it is just misogynoir to the highest degree.
Yeah. Well, what's the term? Criticism is the highest form of flattery.
Yeah.
So I do think that this hit a chord, and that's a really good thing. I think the interpretation of said chord is really off. And so I think we need to keep talking about this, because this idea of roles and stagnation of roles in relationships has to end.
Absolutely.
And what is masculine, what is feminine in any sort of relationship is really something that the two people can decide on.
Amen. And that's what's most important.
Yeah. So I guess congratulations, but it was an interesting, we weren't recording for a while and still trying to stay somewhat active with our audience, and this is one of those things that I think is going to start happening more.
Yeah.
And I think we need to keep having these conversations.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for,
That's
right?
what we're here
to
for.
have tough conversations.
Okay. So we need to clear up some things from last season, because there were a couple surprises for both you and me. One thing that is really clear that we weren't expecting was how many people want to keep talking about the subjects that we brought up. So just put a pin in that. We're going to create opportunities to continue engaging with us through a community, and we will provide information about that when it's ready. But it will happen this season, so stay
Very
tuned.
soon.
Okay, but let's get to the nitty-gritty, right? Like, people have a lot of questions, specific questions for both of us.
For sure.
And we just need to clear it up.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Do you pay your loans?
Okay, girl. Someone actually DM'd me and asked me for like the recipe to defraud the federal government. I said, girl, if you don't get off my line with this, we don't know who's listening. Russia, the federal, we don't know, IRS. Of course I pay my loans, okay? What I was speaking about specifically, however, was an accelerated payment, feeling like I have to pay my loans off within a particular period of time. I am perfectly fine with dying and still owing the federal government student loan money, right? I should have went to school for free anyway. It's called reparations. So that is what I meant. But obviously, like, I own a home, I
own a car.
I have credit cards. Like, I am a fiscally responsible adult. I pay my loans.
So again, I think one of the things that's probably really clear to most of you is that a lot of the things we say on this podcast are supposed to be funny.
Especially me, right?
Right.
I speak in hyperbole often.
And I think to Shira's point, which is really well taken, is that I think, and I don't want to make it specific to our generation of geriatric millennials, but I do think there is something there that we really didn't know what we were signing on to.
Period.
And there was a moment in time between, I'd say 2004 and 2007, where it was super easy to get money, whether you had credit or not. Now, again, I don't know how easy it is now. I'm sure it's still pretty easy, but I remember just signing away and signing loans that had adjustable rate interest up to 8%. I mean, stuff that was really fiscally irresponsible, that I wouldn't recommend people doing. And student loans are predatory, and who are the bulk of people paying them are people who don't have generational wealth, who
Absolutely.
don't have access to someone who can read through those documents,
Absolutely.
who really want access to that education.
Yep.
And maybe it's not education that's worth the cost. And
Yep.
so we wanted to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, and I think we did dissect a lot of that in that episode,
I
right?
think so too.
And you talked about being a professor and who's courted for these institutions and who gets the scholarship dollars and who doesn't. And so all of this is incredibly layered and there are structural issues at play. And me, as again a fiscally responsible adult who also is committed to social justice, I recognize those layers. And
Right.
so
And it's not a one size fits all. There
Yeah.
are certainly people who get merit scholarships who really deserve them.
Absolutely.
But I think there is a conversation around merit scholarships for folks who don't necessarily
even need it.
need it, but for institutional clout.
Absolutely. And
No one's having those conversations. So we just wanted to have that
to have
conversation.
it. All I'm saying is I am not on the Dave Ramsey debt
So
snowball
please stop calling the
plan.
IRS. Please stop following Tashira.
They've been
Please
following me, Em. I told they were after me when I was in LA. I said, "Oh, that's the feds," because I said they thought I wasn't paying my
I don't know
student
if that's
loans.
true, but
I think it was.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, what else?
Okay. Here's what I think a lot of people want to know, Em. Did you ever get a butt plug?
No.
I told y'all I was gonna check in with her. Okay, just checking on my strong
But
friend.
here is something that I need to clear up because specifically my brother has given me a lot of flack for this. I'm not a square, you guys. I'm not the most boring person
You're not.
in the world. I have a lot of fun and find a lot of joy and also experience pleasure. My definition of pleasure might be held a little bit more tightly or more private than Tashira's for a lot of different reasons, but I can assure everyone that I am on a journey just like everyone else. And I have identified that this is a central and important part of my life, and I find it. I also openly find a lot of pleasure in things that like Tashira might not find pleasure in, like napping, or like cleansing or
The
sweating.
basketball.
You
No.
don't believe me.
No, dog, I promise you, I'm there with you. We're gonna go to a game.
You have to see how focused I am. I'm so into it.
Well, you called it meditative, so sure.
It was like these moments where I can be out of my head
Yeah,
and I'm like
present.
present.
Yeah.
I'm like Jaylen Brown, I love you.
I love it for
Yeah,
you.
okay. So I'm not a square.
You're not. I can definitely really attest to that.
And I'm on a journey and I feel a little bit more confined by what I can say, not for any reason other than mainly I have a teenager or almost teenager who
It uses the internet.
and has friends and stuff like that. But look, we're having a retreat coming up. We can share.
Oh, this is a teaser for sure.
Right. We're having a party in DC. Stay tuned in February.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share. So
Margo's actually the twerk team captain.
I really am. I also really like dancing.
You're good at it.
I'm good. Okay. Here's one that actually has gotten my goat a little bit. Is that the right word? Like bristled my feathers.
Okay.
People just assume that you pick out my outfits.
Oh yeah, I don't like that.
And so I think that we need to go back to our Tom's days.
To our anthropology jumpsuit days.
Right.
When we had the same jumpsuit,
Right.
we had the same Toms.
And remember we got those Toms that wrapped around our legs and they didn't fit my legs and I had to return them. Right. So Tashira and I have connected on a lot of levels, but one of those has been fashion.
Always.
And we share kind of a love for beautiful clothing, small brands, self-presentation. We also worked in an industry for a really long time where we couldn't share that part of ourselves
Very
really.
true.
And so I guess it's understandable at some level that people who are accessing this podcast from my work life might have questions, but I've always loved clothes.
And you've always been very stylish and
I
fashionable.
don't also I think it's pretty obvious that Tashira and I have very different style.
Right.
So
That's true as well.
that's been interesting and annoying,
Well, I think
honestly.
I think it's only because my brand is fashion. So then people would assume it doesn't matter who I was sitting beside. People would assume
that's
that
true.
that's my contribution to the podcast. But no, first of all, you're the one who put me on to like a monthly clothing subscription service, which is a lot of what we wear on the podcast. And so clearly you have your own style. You were very stylish. I've taken a cue from you many a time.
Oh, thank you. I think the other thing, though, that I have learned from you and has been very helpful as I'm kind of figuring out my style is this idea of less is more
Mm.
and being dedicated to sustainability, and that you can have pieces that might be a little bit more expensive. You don't need 15 pieces that are cheap.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of a capsule wardrobe for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there have been things that I have purchased over the last couple years that I might not have purchased without your encouragement. But they were things that I had come to.
And that you genuinely love.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So here's another one that I think, and this will get to one of our episodes airing later this season around maybe how our audience perceive things differently. I don't know. But a lot of my followers and friends had a lot of concerns about your first date.
They had concerns.
And they were saying that if they had been in that situation, they would have feared for their life.
Give people context who maybe didn't listen to that episode.
So we talked about sex and dating in our 40s.
We did.
Tashira, we just talked about how Tashira had a very long-term relationship that ended pretty recently in 2021 and has started dating. And she had gone on a first date that she defined as amazing, where her toes were sucked. And there was a lot of, there was this woman brought a blanket and brought a bottle of alcohol, and they were like in front of a monument in DC, and it was all very dark. And
the way you are editorializing this is so full of bias.
So, like, for a cis white hetero woman,
New England,
from New England, we're all like, oh my God, you're gonna get raped. Like, why are you going on this date? This sounds terrible. Like, did someone know where you were? Like, but there's context behind this. And I think this is something that we need to talk about dating in big age, that you had maybe not seen this person before IRL, but you had been talking to her for a long time.
Yeah.
I think that was lost in the conversation.
This was not my first time communicating with this person. I have a very busy schedule. So does she. And so we actually had been communicating for probably almost a month before we actually were able to have our first in-person date.
So they had planned, not the toe sucking, obviously, but they had planned the date.
We had planned the date. She had planned the date beautifully. And so clearly I felt a certain amount of comfort with this person.
Would you have felt comfortable if she were a man?
Probably not, actually, for a lot of reasons. I mean, not to say that intimate partner violence or sexual assault can't happen across genders or same-sex relationships, but I find that being a queer woman, but having previously dated men, that a lot of that fear does not exist for me in the same way anymore. Just even how we relate as two women is very, very different. There's a softness, there is a tenderness, and so I think that's really important to bring that up. But also, I'm just a good old-fashioned freak hoe. Like, I don't know what to say. Future, who I the rapper Future.
I know Future. He had a baby with
Sierra.
Oh, Sierra.
They have a child named Future.
And they have a baby named Future.
They have a child
named
named Future.
She married the football player.
Exactly. Russell
something.
Wilson.
Mm-hmm. And they have a bunch of beautiful kids.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so Future has this song that I often, it plays rent-free in my head because I think it's just prophetic. He says, freak hoe, bounce that ass, make your knees touch your elbows. And so it's a mantra to live by. Shit. I'm at a big age. If I want to get my toes sucked on my first date, I'm going to get my
So
toes
here's
sucked.
the funny thing about this. I think, not my thing, but apparently a lot of people's thing.
Yeah.
That has been very clear.
Yeah.
Of all ages. I am not going to name who has shared with me.
Okay.
But one of the things that has surprised me, and I think there's a lot more to investigate here, is that our esteemed older female followers,
seasoned,
yes, experienced,
yes,
living good lives,
best lives,
are wanting to share.
And listen,
and they are coming from surprising places.
They on some freak nasty shit, and I love it.
I mean, real surprising. And so I would say that we have a lot to learn. And these are not elders in the elder way we think of elders.
No. I mean,
but they are people who have lived good lives. And you sometimes wonder and never know what goes on. And you certainly don't know.
Well, it goes back to the fact that, okay, I said in the previous episode that everybody was down at the sex club. Everyone's clearly is not down at the sex club. However, people who we would least expected experience joy and physical pleasure in a myriad of ways that are outside of missionary, like vanilla sex.
Okay, I think the other thing that's really clear, and I know this is something that you've dealt with for a long time and is newer to me, but also kind of opening my mind in this way, is how much people are wanting to share their experiences and don't have outlets for it.
Absolutely.
And so I think you're right. You know, I think you were joking when you said, Margo, everyone you know is at the sex club. What that brought to my attention, because people now want to share with me, is that while that might not be where people are, there's certainly a lot more people who are adjacent to that than I would have ever expected, and feeling like they're doing it in silence, like on not weird is not the right word, but like kind of clandestine invite only Facebook groups.
Absolutely.
And after dark. And while maybe some of that should stay kind of private, which I think it should in certain ways, particularly if there's small children kind of around, I think there's something that's happening where people are feeling confused about where they've ended in life. Not ended, where they've landed in life. And there's not much information out there.
So I watch this show on YouTube like every single day. I watch at least one episode of a show called Soft White Underbelly. And it is like this.
Oh, you've sent me some of these interviews.
Oh, I love it so much. It's about people who live lives that are very often kind of pushed to the margins and aren't explored in a real way. So they had these business partners on who basically created like a Magic Mike, but all Black dancers, like a Black male review. And they have
like
one,
Chippendales?
Exactly. They have one in Vegas, which is a huge show, and I think maybe one in Miami or something. But one of the business partners said something that I will never forget. He said, the reason our show is so successful is because Black women often face the stereotype of being hypersexual. And so they've never had a chance to really explore their sexuality in a way that is healthy, in a way that is out loud and exciting. And so they walk through the doors of our show, and for the first time, they can be in public and really be sex positive, for lack of a better word, which is fucking part of the human experience. And so for me, I think advocacy and activism takes a whole bunch of different forms. I am so serious about that at this stage of my life, of saying to people, hey sis, you like anal? Me too. You see what I'm saying? Hey sis, you like to get your toes sucked? Me too. You don't know? Let me tell you about it. Hey sis, oh, you squirt? I want to squirt. Let's talk about it, right? Because people want to have the conversation. We're just told not to.
So, right. And I think there are a lot of people who we don't expect can do things that can.
Amen.
Like some of those things that you talked about.
Listen, I don't know what you're trying to say to me right now with that look in your eyes, but we'll talk later.
But I will say that Tashira's right. That even we had this event in Boston really early on, right after the podcast release, and it was sold out. It was amazing. It was at Wine Press. It was so fun. And people were coming up to Tashira, the episode around sex and dating in our 40s had just landed.
Yeah.
And people were coming up to you being like, I also really want to squirt.
Yeah. And like,
yeah. But it wasn't like, it was like,
yeah.
right? It's different.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay, this is something that I think, I don't know, maybe I did it. I don't know.
Right. Just having an open conversation.
And Dr. Megan was there.
And we were asking her questions.
And another doctor was there, and they were kind of talking to us.
It's our bodies. It's our bodies. And so going back to the original question about was I afraid? I can't say what other people should do and what situations they are in. All I know is two things were at play. Number one, I felt comfortable because I knew this person. And number two, I am dedicated at this season of life to experiencing joy and pleasure in every single way that I can, right? And I get my PhD and shit. As you said in the previous episode, like if I'm into something, I'm going all out. And right now it is about physical pleasure. And I'm on some freako shit. I mean, that's the period.
Okay. So here's another question that I think is important because thank you to everyone who's been listening and watching and sharing. But I'm wondering if, because I have had this experience, if you've kind of been in a moment where you've maybe shared our podcast with an audience that maybe it doesn't land well.
Have I shared it with the audience? I
like, do you have your grandma listen?
So listen, so it's not that it doesn't land well, it's that I've been kind of like,
yeah, same, but we've got to be
sheepish about
yeah,
it.
Same, but like remember we're writing out our goals, and one of our goals is really getting the word out. I mean, we have a lot of followers and people are listening.
This is true.
But we need more people to listen.
Yeah, so my mom doesn't listen.
Like my mom doesn't listen either.
Yeah, I played one episode for her that was, pretty safe. And she was, it was an episode, I think, about voting. And my mom was like, I need a fucking dictionary for this. Like, what are y'all talking about? She's like, oh my God. But I felt like that was the safest one. And I was like, don't listen to anything else, my G. Like, this is the only episode. But then my grandma, they have Alexa. So her and my granddaddy will sit at the table for breakfast and she'll be like, Ka, let's see what's she doing on the thing today. And like, she'll tell Alexa to play like the podcast. And who knows what
Which
Alexa
one comes up.
Girl.
So here's a really interesting thing. My mom has not listened. My dad has not listened. But my dad's best friend listens to every episode and loves it.
Of course. It's entertaining. You're brilliant. Like, it's all the things.
I think that that this is something that is relatable to everyone. So I will say that I have had the experience where maybe I got too trigger happy and did send the podcast on pregnancy terminations to a bunch of Catholic people. And I didn't remember that they were Catholic. They were lawyers, so I was thinking that like this is one that's quasi legal in terms of like the voting one and the pregnancy termination one. I think were the closest to my legal background, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then I didn't hear back for a while.
And you were like, what's going on?
I was like, oh, right, Margo, like, audience. This is new for me, right? This is a new space for my advocacy.
Yes. Having an opinion online can be a blessing and a curse. Because I think even via social media, like how have you felt about that? Some of the comments that we get on things that we post.
I actually find the comments to be, I have not, it has not bothered me, even the negative comments. And I think part of the reason, so I can talk about it two ways. I think I think of our page as a professional page.
Yeah.
Right. And so the positive and negative comments that we've gotten, or constructive, land well with me. And I think part of that is from my years of teaching and litigating, right? Where I've had to deal with really challenging personalities.
Yeah.
In kind of different levels, both public and private. So that part hasn't bothered me. I think the thing that has is more of a transition for me is our motivation. So people questioning the motivation for us doing this. And so I think what people don't know is that we've been talking about this for a long time, but we haven't been sharing it because we haven't had justice.
Yeah, exactly. Our
Right?
private
That had
dialogue.
and so there has been some feedback that I've gotten where like, oh, I didn't realize you were such a wanting public, I don't know what the word is.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know you wanted to be in the limelight.
Well, let me just say this, because this is something that I'm very sensitive to. Because I think a lot of content creation is seen as feminized labor,
Ooh, interesting.
it is also something that is not taken seriously.
Like moms of Instagram and stuff.
Things like that, right? It's not taken seriously. And so obviously being a doctor, being a lawyer are careers that are very heralded and shepherded. You know, they have this very high esteem in our society. But what we're doing is also work and arguably reaching just as many, if not more people than
hope
our
so.
previous lives and our previous career paths, right? So any criticism about how you're doing it or why you're doing it is completely unfounded and, dare I say, even probably a bit sexist as well.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about it through a sexism lens, but that's true. Yeah. So that part has been interesting. I think you're really worried about me.
I am.
You don't need to worry about me.
Okay. All right.
I have, one of my goals for last year was being present. And so I have spent a lot of time trying to figure out kind of where I am in a moment. And I've also been doing a lot of work, professional work, that is both the podcast and related to my previous professional training.
Yeah.
And I am just being present and noticing. And this is the work that has been the most motivating and most exciting for me. I would say it has felt also the most uncomfortable. I'm really awkward. I've had to make a bunch of pitches, which I've never done before. And working in a business for-profit sector is something that I haven't ever done before. And so the business side is very, very new for me, but I have enjoyed every moment of it. I have found it very, very motivating.
And the beauty is that we're growing. That we are growing. We got off of the horse, which we will have an episode this season all about quitting, right? We got off the horse and we are creating our own lane. And I don't think that there's anything that I've probably worked harder at, but also nothing that I've gotten as much fulfillment in. And so I love that we are on this journey together.
I am so grateful we're on this journey together. And I think season 2 is going to be different and the same.
Yeah, for sure.
So stay tuned. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning back. What's one thing you're going to do today, Tashira, as we're welcoming back season 2?
First, I'm going to have another one of these. This beverage is delicious.
Jyoti and Aaron, Empirical.
I mean, they hit this out the park.
This is really good.
I've just never tasted this flavor profile before.
I think it's really alcoholic.
No, no.
I feel really drunk.
It's 4.5% alcohol.
Mine is like 10.
No, it's dog. You've got to stop this.
Mine is 8.
Okay. This is okay. So you basically had 2 of mine, essentially, as far as the alcohol content is concerned. That is fair. So I think we're going to go down to Newberry Street. We're going to do a little bit of shopping. We're going to go and get one of your daughters some new glasses.
Yeah, she's been waiting for Auntie Tashira to come. My kids all think of Tashira as their aunt. And obviously the high priestess of Thoughtlandia, but also the high priestess of fashion. And so again, like a lot of people on this podcast who think Tashira picks out my clothes, my kids don't trust my fashion instinct. And when I do try something new, they think Tashira might have influenced it. But I will say the sweetest thing, and I forgot to mention this, and it's really important that I mention it. The best holiday present I got were these hoops from Josh and my girls. And the reason that the girls picked them out, they're gold hoops, is because they thought they looked like Tashira's jewelry. And so they thought we would match on the podcast. So I'm wearing them today. I don't wear a lot of jewelry, but I'm wearing these gold hoops and these bracelets from my GOM and this purple bracelet that I got from one of my best friend Amelia's weddings.
Oh, I love
And we
it.
all got these purple. I'll if I can link it. I don't know. It was a while ago, but it's a purple Kate Spade bracelet, but we all wore purple, different shades of purple,
Yeah.
and then she got us all these beautiful purple bracelets at her wedding. So, this is a very, very beautiful thing that my kids um, are noticing.
Well, and let me just say too that we are now linking our outfits. Everything is over on Like to Know It. Make sure you follow us there.
Yes.
But
And to the extent, Tashira and I are linking all of our outfits. A lot of the stuff we're wearing, we will just say, are from years past because we're trying to kind of wear the clothes that we have.
of course.
So we are linking things if they're not still for sale that are similar. And we would love your feedback.
Yeah, exactly. We're just trying to expand
Yeah.
all avenues and ways to reach you all. But what is something that you are doing for yourself today?
Well, it feels like taping today is kind of my act of self-care because this is so fun. But I am going to drag you to a hot Pilates class.
All right, let's get it.
Yeah.
I
I told
forgot
my
to.
friend Ashley, who's teaching, that we're going to be there.
I have no workout clothes, so I need to wear. I forgot. I'm sorry. I need to wear your very, very tight high on me leggings.
More to come. We're going to breathe. Okay. Thank you for welcoming us back. We are so excited for season 2. Let's get to it.
Let's get it. Stay tuned, y'all. See you next episode.